Hello, Lab for Rhythmic Textures. This course is structured such that it focuses primarily on MIDI in the first month, and this is the fourth lab, and it's the most dense one for MIDI. After this, we move into synthesis and other things, so this is kind of where the course tops out as far as using MIDI. So with that said, it's dense, there's a lot of stuff, and it's going to go fast. I have notes here, mostly to make sure that I don't miss something, so I will refer to them. So let's get going. So create a sequence, name it as always, last name, lab number, date assigned. It will come up like this. Before you start, go to the chunks window, which you can go shopping for, or you can hit Shift C. It comes up, and just notice this, end time. That'll come into play later, okay? Okay, let's create a track. Please make it blue. Name it pedal. Hold down Option, click Shift. That's a Mac thing, not a GP thing. You're going to name it pedal tone, like pedals on an organ, where you hit a low note and hold it and then you play stuff over it. That's what we're doing. You're going to assign this to the Nord on channel 3. Look over at the Nord. Even if it says B8, hit that again. So either go to B8, or if it says B8, just hit the 8 number so you're refreshing the buffer. Hit a note, it's playing through. Something I've mentioned to some of you is that the Nord has a particularly low output level, and this is not a regular console, it's a line mixer, so don't be afraid to turn the volumes on and up. I tend to run the Nord volume on the Mac at about 2 or even 3 o'clock. Perfectly okay to do that. What we're going to do is enter a very simple sustaining bass line, and you need to make a note of what your root note is. I'm going to use A, because later you're going to fill in arpeggios in that key using chord tones. 1, 3, 5, and 7, I'll show you that. You can copy exactly what I'm doing or pick a different key. Then you're going to enter 8 measures, and you need to keep it real simple. Turn on my click and my count off. Keep it simple and sustaining. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. For example, so it could literally just be 1 note or 2 or 3. The point is they need to be sustaining. So far, so good? Okay, now for me, because I get annoyed hearing the count off and the click, I'm just going to turn them off. Period 1, enter. I'm going to hit 8, so it turns on autoplay, so it'll keep coming back there. So far, so good. If I hit play, playing my sounds, what you do now is you're going to insert a patch change in a different way. So come to the insert, patch change. It brings up a pencil. Anywhere you click, it will put it in. So notice that because the grid is on, it might not go exactly to the very beginning, or it might. So you can turn the grid off, or if it's on, hold down the Command key or Apple key, and it toggles the grid state. I hold down Command, click, hold, and drag all the way. Sometimes something that will happen is you'll go to move a patch change in this manner, and if you click and hold on it a little bit too long, it opens the patch window. You're going to do this a lot in this lab, so just notice that, okay? Now, 8 patches per bank. We're in the last patch of the 8th bank. That's patch number 16. Come down to 16. Bing. And then change the patch on the Nord. I just went to B2. It doesn't matter. Then hit play. And notice, it goes back to B8, but it also doesn't play the first note, because reloading the patch in many synthesizers causes it to have a slight hiccup, because it has to load all the parameter settings, and it takes longer to do that than the note here, which is literally on the downbeat. So here's the point. Once you've played it once, it will play correctly after. Notice that? Okay. The Nord, refresh it. So you reload B8, play a note. Check this out. If you really want to hear those harmonics, turn down these stops, play a note. Those are all harmonics in that sound. Refresh. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, now come to your track. Go to Insert, Other Controller. It'll probably come up 7, whatever. Enter 20. Hit OK. Bring your cursor back up into the track. Anywhere you click, it's going to put that dot in. So what I want you to do is come all the way over here to the left at the beginning of the track, somewhere in the middle, and click once. Now you've got a value for that. Now you need your tools. You can hit Shift-O, or you can right-click over here, or it might already be there. I don't want to get into the way DP deals with preferences. Depends on what other students before you have done. If you click Editor Tools, you've got tools, or if you hit Shift-O, it brings them up in a separate window. Either way, it's the same. I'll just use Shift-O, okay? So now what you do is you go here to the waveform select for the reshape tool. Click on it, and let's go to a sine wave. Now you need this. This is the reshape tool. Notice it's grayed out. That's just because you have to click in here. So when I click in here, see how these all light up? Click on reshape. Click, hold, and drag, and move either up or down. So notice that it's, first of all, it's putting it in at whatever the grid value is, which in this case is quarter notes. Secondly, it's scaled based on the initial value of that first controller 20 command you put in. So if we undo that, come here to this is the pointer tool. You can also get it just by pressing and holding A. So if I press and hold A, I can move that out of the way. Click on it. Sometimes it'll, yeah, right there it copied notes. I don't know why. I'll press A again, click on that, and hit delete. So now I've got the same command we entered in the first place, but it's either all the way down or all the way up. I don't care, it doesn't matter. Now with the reshape tool, click, hold, and drag, boom, 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 and stop before the end of bar 8, and then period 1, enter, hit play. Pretty cool, huh? So check this out. If you come over here to the reference manuals, down to the Nord, open up the manual, you will find if it comes up like this, you go to page 45. If you go Option Command G in preview, it'll bring up a window you can enter a page. Look at this. Organ parameters. Here are the volumes of the drawbars and all of their MIDI controller numbers. So you know that you're changing the 2 2/3 foot upper drawbar. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the 5th stop. So you can actually see the parameters there. So what I want you to do now is do this again, but with a different waveform and a different grid value. So now come back here to Insert, come to Other Controller. Let's go to 21. You can do that or one of the other higher ones. Enter, click anywhere except, I'm going to turn the grid off. Sorry. Order of operations gets me every time. It still comes up 21, and I'm going to come all the way over here, and let's see, we'll start all the way up at the top for this one, since the last one, and it didn't take. All right, going too fast. Enter controller, 21, over here, click, and there it is, and good enough, that's fine. Now what I want you to do is, before we were at quarter notes, so let's do something. I mean, you could do some weird value triplets or something. Let's go half notes. I don't care. Now let's take this reshape tool, click, hold, and drag. Oh, it's still sine waves. Change the waveform. I don't care what you use. Triangles, square wave. Let's do that. All right, and stop before bar 9. Now reselect the pointer tool. Come back to the beginning, and that's pretty abrupt. So something I'm going to do is just take with the pointer tool. You don't have to do this, but I'm just going to select all those. And look, this is what we're seeing in that lane. So if you did this and you try to click and select, you would see notes. If you now want to see other things, this is just DP, you can open lanes. So I could go and look at 20 here. I could add another lane and look at 21. You can add as many lanes as you want. But with 21 highlighted, remember it was too abrupt when it would come on. So take all these, select all these, grid is on so they won't move. I'm just going to pull their value down a bit. And then for the halibut, I'm going to bring that up. So now it won't be as extreme. You're now done with this particular track. Except something that I forgot to mention and that can confuse you is, where did your program change go? And the answer is nowhere. It just wasn't being shown, okay? Okay, the next part of this, I'm going to explain first, because I think it will be much better if you have a global idea of what we're doing before I start giving you the instructions. you're only going to create one more track. It's going to go to a synth that will play a staccato sound, playing step-entered arpeggios with patch changes during the track that will be changing the sound it's playing while it's playing. So with all of that in mind, create another track. Please give it a different color, not the default. Something. And you can name it what you want as long as it's something. I'm going to call it ARP for arpeggio. So far, so good. Now, this is a part I need to quickly explain. When I said it needs to be a staccato sound, it's because you're going to be entering 16th notes, like that. So it needs to be a sound that starts and stops pretty fast. You can use any synth you want that will do that. But if you do use a synth or sounds other than the examples I give, make sure the sounds you choose are not only staccato, but aren't bathed in effects or something, okay? I'm using the mini log, and for a very simple reason. You don't have to enter bank select commands. So this is a part to pay attention to for those of you who want to do more. Those of you who want an extra 10 points, if instead you use either the Integra or the Roland, that means you'll have to take 10 minutes to go through each one auditioning patches and select 4 that are staccato patches that you like. Write down the CC0 and 32 numbers and the patch numbers, and then put those in. It'll add about 10 or 15 minutes tops. It'll buy you 10 more points. Or you can do exactly what I'm about to show you. These are preset numbers that I just started going through the mini log. Any of these seemed to work okay. Also keep this in mind. You might use a certain patch number on a certain synth, or even the ones I'm showing you, and if the notes you enter are at too low an octave, it may not work well with your bass line. So make sure that whatever pitches you enter in the following step are somewhere in the mid-range. This is for the part of Lab 4 where you're going to enter chord tones based on the key that you're in. So you made a bass track in the Nord, and whatever, I give you A as an example, because if you use A, that means you're in A natural minor, which is all white keys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on, which means you're going to use 1, 3, 5, and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Those are the notes that you will step enter for your arpeggio, and you can either just go up and down. It's hard for me to play because the camera tripod's in the way. Or you can make patterns like, you know, make patterns, whatever you want to do, that's cool. Just be aware that if you want to use a key other than A minor, that's absolutely fine. Just be aware that you might get into other keys. Just remember, 1, 3, 5, and 7 are the chord tones you're going to use of the root, whatever you're in. Okay, so you just looked at that video showing you you're going to enter the 1, 3, 5, and 7 chord tones of whatever key you're in. In the case of this one, what is it? It's A, C, E, and G. So what you're going to do is step enter 32 of them at a 16th note resolution, which will give you 2 measures, and you need to make patterns. Please don't just go all the way up and all the way down. Make some patterns. I'm going to literally just make this up as I go, even if I screw it up, okay? So first of all, I'm going to come to the mini log, and that is literally the default patch, number 1, good enough. I'm going to bring up the step enter window, Command 8. Remember, you need to make sure it's on the right track. Set it to 16th notes. I'm going to randomly enter combinations of patterns of A, C, E, and G, because that's the 1, 3, 5, and 7 in A. And I'm going to count them. And when I get to 32, I'm going to stop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 1, 2. Now, let's mute this. Check it out. Okay, so now I have 2 measures of arpeggiated notes. And what you need to do is copy that so that you have 8 bars. The other 10 extra points you can get, instead of recording in one pattern and copying it, record in 4 separate patterns. So look, what will that add? 3 minutes? 4 minutes? So if you give me 4 independent discrete patterns, an extra 10 points. If you record in 2 bars and then copy and paste, not. So that's up to you. If you want to go through the mini log and check them out for yourself or find other sounds, it's this easy. Hit play and then turn the knob. This right now is on patch 1. That would not be good. Good. All right, that's 4 tracks bass. So normally that would be a bass sound, but the notes are high enough that it's not sounding that way. That would work because it's staccato. So you could keep turning that knob, find 4 sounds that you like, or you can use any combination of 4 of the notes, the patches in the list that I gave you. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to use 4, 13, 14, and 39, whatever. Here's what you do now. Save. Insert patch change. The grid is on, so come all the way to the beginning. Click on it. And what do we want? I said 4. Now what you do, again, make sure the grid is on. That'll help you. You're going to copy these to bars 3, 5, and 7. So in Mac, if you click on something and then hold Option and drag, it creates a copy. Remember, if you click on this for any more than about a half a second, it actually opens up the window. So what I'm going to do is click on it, immediately hit Option, and then drag. So now I'm going to come here, and what did I say? 4, 9, 13. What I hope is that for those of you who have any motivation at all, that you actually go through and listen to different patches and kind of actually have some intent. Now, check this out. Now, that was a good example. Oh, I don't need my frickin' count off. There's a slight hiccup because the device has to load a patch while it's also playing a note. So here's something I'm asking you guys to do, and it only takes a second. Refine the timing of these patch changes. So I'm going to stop coming back to bar 1. I'm going to turn off the metronome. I'm going to open up the zoom. I'm hold, control, click, hold, and drag, right? And I'm going to come here, turn off the grid, and listen. That one was okay. That one was okay, but if it wasn't, with the grid off, click on this and move it a little earlier. It's better to interrupt the very end of one sound so that the next one starts on the beat. Got it? So there we go. So now you've got these changing rhythmic textures, but you're not done. I recommend that you turn off that and that. Now you need to come back to the chunks window. Shift-C. Notice the end time. The end time needs to say 9-1. That means there's 8 full bars. But you try to click on this and you can't change it. So what you do is Control-click on it and select Auto Manual End Time. Now notice it comes in bold. You can type in it 9-1 enter. This is important, guys. Make sure you do that. At this point also, I want you to do this. Let's rename this. Option click. SEQ-1. What you do now is Control click on this and go duplicate sequence. Option click, let's call it Seek 2. Now if you hit play right now, we're still looking at sequence 1 in both the mixer window and other windows within DP. If you went and changed this, you'd literally be looking at sequence number 2 while the mixer for sequence 1 is open. In order to avoid that confusion, always change your chunks from the chunks window. Now all windows are at sequence 2, and you might go, why the hell did you do that? I got 2 identical sequences. Yeah. Now what you do is, in the pedal tone, click anywhere, put in a transpose plugin. You can click, hold, and drag, or click once. I hit Command-A to highlight the whole thing, and type. So I'm going to type D3, so that'll be a major second up. So now, this is actually at B instead, because it's not about C or D. It's this was an A, now it's a major second up. You need to do the same thing here, which you can also do by click on it, hold Option, and drag. So now this sequence, whereas the first sequence, see how they're different. Come to chunks, go to sequence 2, duplicate sequence, Option click, let's call it seq 3. Click play to load it. Come into the transpose plugins of each track. And let's change it again. You could go to, I'm going to go to B flat. You can go to anything you want. Click once, Command A, select all. If you type in BB2 and you hit enter or click outside of it, boop, and click both of these. Now this one, okay, you're very nearly done. Now what you do is you come to the Song tab. When you click on it, it'll say you don't have a song. Do you want to create one? You go, yep. Now notice there's a new chunk in the chunk window called Song 1. Pretty neat. But this is something, until you get used to it, it can catch you. If you hit play now, it's not playing any song. There is no song. You haven't created. It's playing sequence 3. So the mixer is still showing sequence 3. See what I mean? It's both really powerful, but it can confuse you until you get used to it. But doesn't that almost describe almost all of the audio engineering you've learned since you started, even before coming to NESCOM? Confusing, powerful, but once you learn it, you can do a lot of stuff. So far, so good. Now what you do is click on play. So now the song is play enabled. If you hit play, it bar moves, but nothing happens. So now, here under the icon, click on sequence 1 and drag it in. Click on sequence 2, drag it in. 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 2. Now if I hit play, I'm not going to take the time to do it, but if I did, we would hear our sequence for 8 bars, and then it would repeat transpose down for 8, then it would repeat, you see, you get the picture. And just consider the power of this. What I did is I went, actually, let's see if I can show you this. Watch this. User guide, it's going to come up the last place I was, but let's say it doesn't. Say it comes up there. Be patient. Watch. If I just page down until I'm here, arranging songs, click here. Songs. Guys, look at this. This is just to give you a little example of what you could do. Notice that, okay, got a intro chunk, verses, a separate sequence of who knows what that can play over one verse and into a chorus, and that sequence, of course, isn't one thing repeated. It could be different. Notice this. You can take an entire song, create a new song, and drag an entire song into other song window chunk. Stop and ponder this for a minute. There's nothing even remotely close to this in Pro Tools. It's not for everybody, but if what you want to do is create music using MIDI and a DAW, audio, MIDI tracks, automation, all kinds of things, and then make all kinds of arrangements of them really quickly that you can change really quickly. Pretty cool. One last thing I want to circle back to, because this catches students. Remember what I said earlier? If you don't watch the tutorial, don't come crying to me. People will create a song, and before play enabling the song, with the song window open, they will drag sequences in and hit play and hear something and think they're okay. But right now, if I hit play, we're hearing sequence 3. Here's one of the things that can happen to you. What if you actually, see, look, sequence 3 is in play mode, but we're looking at the song window because the song window is independent. You would have to come back here to see that we're actually in sequence 3. This is what we'll hear. So here's the thing. What if you had this looped? You put in, the command, so it's playing 1 through bar 9 and just over and over, but you are looking at the song window and you think you're hearing the song, but it's not transposing. You're going, what's wrong? Always make sure that's what's going on. So folks, I hope that you can see that what we've covered just for MIDI already has shown you a lot of different concepts. That's the lab, and you know what you need to do to earn the extra 20 points if you wish to.